is iRacing.
If you want to win anywhere in the open wheel series, it's usually the big tracks, Indianapolis, Michigan, and the Milwaukee Mile, the 1 mile ribbon around the Wisconsin State Fairgrounds has proven to host the biggest names in all of motorsport. And they've all been winners here. In the heart of the Milwaukee metro area, this mile has been the longest running oval track ever in North America. And now it's host to Lotus 49s. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Milwaukee Mile in West Allis, Wisconsin, right off of I-94. My name is Jeremy Scott. Nicholas Hillebrand joins me today. Daniel Costello is making us sound so good and live and in Memorex. And Dougie Beard brings us the cameras of this historic facility. Nicholas, one thing that I love about the Milwaukee Mile is it's an oval that runs as a road course, but still, you have to know how to drive an oval in order to win here.
Absolutely, and Milwaukee, you already mentioned it before, it's such a long-standing circuit, September 11th, 1903 it was opened, so it's older than both world wars, it's older than the Titanic sinking, for God's sake, so this is a circuit with a lot of tradition. And today, with the Lotus 49s around here, this is taking us straight back to essentially the 60s years, where USAC used to go here with Mario Andretti with only 2-speed gearboxes. We're still with 5 today, but, 1.6 kilometers, 4 corners as usual, but action-packed to no end.
I'm almost hoping to see AJ Foyt come out in one of his dirt cars and lead the field. But alas, we're here with the Lotus 49s. It's a mile in length. Of course, it's called the Milwaukee Mile. And it's one of the flattest ovals on any circuit. So we're going to see these drivers have to let off, maybe tap the brake to get that rear end around these corners. And what's interesting about the Milwaukee Mile is while it is still a racetrack, during the Wisconsin State Fair, they actually put a live stage right there on the pit road. And people park around there. So it's used for more than just racing, and even regional series use the infield oval, so it is a multi-purpose oval, which many people don't know about.
Indeed, and Illinois is one of the states that has really, not maybe the most racetracks, but it has 2 of the all-time greats, especially in America, Road America and Milwaukee Mile. And with both of those, there's just so much tradition, the entire state is basically oozing proper racing energy for me.
Yeah, you drive 1 hour to the north and you lap into Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, home of Road America. So a lot of racing history has been made within 60 miles of each other. And let's not even get started on some of the dirt tracks and short tracks in and around Milwaukee. As you see the fantastic facility, you got a couple of grooves you can use. A lot of the drivers are going to use that darker groove there on the bottom, just above the pit entry, and then you go through 3 and 4, and I think that's probably the most treacherous of all the corners here at the Milwaukee Mile. Let's take a look at the standings, and no surprise here, Audrey Vanteus with a 240 point so far. He's 41 points up on Nicola Kaki. Togo Hisada, 49 points behind in third. John Olson sitting back there in fourth. Then you got Henry Morse, Jason Clapper, David Rossi, Mick Larridge, Gary Ho, and Kurt Clapper rounding out your top 10. Basically 93 points separates first from 10th.
The F2 driver standings, Josephine Becker is leading with 159 points, then Janice Carpentier, 30 points behind. 3 points behind that is Tobias Hermvey, with Mats Linden also close behind. Manuel Maticic, I think that's correct. Incredibly sorry, that caught me out for a moment. I thought I was having a stroke. Andres Bruno in 6th place, Donald Peak in 7th with David Andres Tovar, 1 point behind, and 3 points behind that, Campbell Wallace and Thomas Tuber rounding out the top 10.
That's okay. I would have done the same thing here. Take a look at our Cup of Nations. Ukraine with 300 points, 55 behind is Italy. Japan 66 with the United States in 4th. That's England, United Kingdom, Spain. Sao Tome and Principe is in 8th, Argentina 9th, and the Principality of Hong Kong sits back there in 10th place. Let's take a look at the race details. Nicholas, we got halfway through the season, 67 laps, rolling start, no spare car. And I don't know if penalty points are going to be too much of an issue, because really your penalty is going to be hitting the wall here. But if it does, you drive through at 17 and your race is over at 25 penalty points.
Absolutely, and that is especially unforgiving when you consider how tight it can be around this circuit.
And of course, we're running the modern style with safer barriers and, you know, the construction bollards right there to save these drivers from really having something nasty. But you got to stop and think. Let's step back into the 60s, where you didn't have those luxuries. You didn't have the high catch fencing. And with these cars, which some drivers called them basically coffins, it kind of made things just a little bit more dangerous as qualifying is underway.
I think it got even more crazy when you're thinking about it. These cigars, you know, we know how tiny they are in comparison. I actually had the chance recently again to have a look at a couple of 60s and 70s F1 cars. They're tiny, especially compared to nowadays standards. And they still carried, like, depending on the car, with the Brabhams in F1 in this year, they carried like 140 liters of fuel with them. And the Lotus, I think, should carry around 180. And the Indy cars back then carried over 250 liters, which, you know, you can just imagine if you crash in race trim, you know, there's just a lot of fuel spilling out all of a sudden. And that's not where you want to be, obviously.
No, it's not definitely where you want to be. As the grid has been set for today's 67 lapper, let's take a look at it. As your front row is that of Henry Morrison, Toko Hasada, Kevin Verbruggen, and Shusenke Tishima round out row 2. Jacob Reed and Mick Claridge in row 3. Bill Tyler and Leo Sicaro, row 4. Lost Olson and Jason Clapper. Nicholas, round out your top 10.
Yes, and then positions 11 to 20 start with John Olsen and Yoshiharu Hashimoto in row 6, Kurt Clapper and Ray Oliver in row 7, then Henry Virumeki and David Rossi in row 8, Gary Quellen and Robert Plumley in row 9. Row 10 is rounded out by Andres Bruno and Mats Linden.
As we take a look at row number 11, as you see on your screen, that is Campbell Wallace and Bjorn Ackerman. And rounding out your field, David Betty and David Almendros, who is not long a time. So 24 cars will get set for today's 67 lapper. I'm really excited because you have no downforce and high speeds around this 1 mile oval.
Absolutely. I got a bit caught out for a moment. David Beatty, that's a name I last heard in a World War I documentary, because he was one of the British admirals of the high seas of the Royal Navy, and that was, yeah, you know, random bit of trivia there. Sorry.
No, you know what? Random trivia, that's half the fun, especially because we might be diving some out here at the mile. The field is starting to get set on the grid on the front straightaway. And one thing that I find interesting about the Milwaukee Mile is, and this is just me, is the gap between the track and how the pit road is about probably maybe 2-3 feet higher than the racing surface.
Yeah, it is really, really, I wouldn't say necessarily an odd thing, but, you know, we're way more used to having also a bigger gap, I'd say, between the racing surface and the pit road when, you know, sort of like these changes are there. But also the pit entrance is super, super sudden here comparatively to, you know, even other like short ovals like this.
Yeah, no, it really is. You got to come, dive low off of 4 just to get onto pit road. Hopefully nobody will need it, but, you know, somebody may need it. And what's interesting, too, is how close the warm-up lane is to the rest of the field, as we have one car slow off the grid, but you see the cars making their way around the surface as coming off of turn number 2, lights out on the pace car. So we're just about set to get going, as 24 cars are scheduled to race here. And what's interesting is, if you take a look over over off of the backside, there's a set of homes over there as well. So that's a neat little bit of information that is also kind of cool. So it's set in a neighborhood, but really the track was here first, as we all know. All right, pace car is coming off the field. Henry Morse, Togo Hisada are 1 and 2. Kevin Verbruggen and Tashima make up row number 2. The field's starting to tighten up as the pace car takes the hard left off of the racetrack, and we are racing here at the Milwaukee Mile. Henry Morse with an early lead is 2-3 wide near at the back. Hisada following Tashima going up to 3rd place right now as Verbruggen trying to catch up there. Everybody within a couple of seconds of each other already.
Incredibly close, as we anticipated already, as everyone's heading for turn 3 for the very first time here. And Morse got an excellent start, as you said. Oh, there's a big one, and on top of the wall.
That is the number 13 who is already out of the race. That's John Olsen. Ray Oliver hanging there on the wall trying to get off, and there we go. Now he seesaws his way down, turns around. The Australian now pointed forward, half a lap down, but nonetheless, Henry Morse is your leader, followed by Togo Hisada. Hisada 0.2 of a second behind. There's a little gap between Tashima and Reed. Side by side for position. That's Sakaro and Clapper, and it looks like the Clapper will get the better of Sakaro as he goes a little high, and that's a danger here. You go too high, you're going to end up in the wall by catching the marbles.
Yes, indeed, and especially around here, you don't have a lot of grip as it stands anyway, because these are old bias-ply tires, old bias-ply radials, groove tires as well, and well, not quite what you'd have with racing slicks nowadays. So a lot of slip angle that you can sometimes get. I think we saw that already in lap 2, out of turn 2. So some people getting quite a bit of oversteer, and of course you want to stay as smooth as possible, as we are here with Shunsuke Teshima all over the back of Jacob Reed, who set the fastest lap once again here, and well, definitely setting his sights on Hisada and Morse up ahead.
Of course, you also see the groove tires there as we take a look at Teshima's front left, and you're not going to get the grip like you would in a normal everyday race car, but it's still interesting to note, even with the smoothness, quote unquote, of this facility, you're still seeing a lot of travel there in the suspension as Laust Olsen trying to hold off Jason Clapper there for that 11th spot, as Clapper's going to go high, wide, and handsome. Actually, that's going to be Olsen's going to go high, wide, and handsome, lose that spot. And really, that's just going to show if you're down low, you're fine. But once you get on the straightaway, it's going to be game over, because whoever's on the outside is already going to be heavy in the gas.
Yeah, that's that absolute beauty of short ovals, especially with lower bankings like around here. As you said, he's getting a bit high, a bit wide, thinking, okay, I can't keep it alongside, but he straightens out a little bit earlier. And as soon as you straightened out a bit earlier like that, you put down the power a bit nicer, you get a bit nicer traction because you're not turning as much. In the end, in these cars, you have to try and make every corner as straight as possible, just so you can, pretty much just accelerate as much as you can and get back up to speed.
Let's take a look at Jacob Reed, as he has been logging fast lap after fast lap. Part and parcel of that is due to the draft that he's getting off of Hisada. Look at how close he is off the back of the number 4. He is just nice and tight, of course, also almost touching that white line, but not exactly touching it. And off of turn number 2, as you say, he gets on those little yellow rumble strips. And they're slight rumble strips like you would get on the highway, not the violet ones like you see at Road America. So it's not like he's diamonding off, but he's ovaling it off and doing a late apex coming out of turn number 4.
Yeah, it's super, super close between them now. Nose to tail running into turn 1 once again. Right behind that, we have Mick Claridge as well, just setting the fastest lap once more. If I remember correctly, last season's champion, Mick Claridge. So, definitely looking close and hungry once again for the top 3.
Yeah, so Claridge closing in on that podium spot. He's got Tashima about 0.7 of a second. There are so many great battles as we're watching Kevin Verbruggen trying to hold off Bill Tyler and Jason Clapper. And not too far away from them is Sakaro and Olsen. And Claridge once again logging that fast lap. I think lap after lap we're going to see the lap times really come down as these cars start to really get into position as Reed goes to the inside of Hisada. He gets the advantage, and that's going to give Claridge a chance to close in on Hisada as he's too high to make something happen, but Hisada shuts the front door on him through turn 4.
And this is where it will start getting really, really close. because these cars, they are very, very monstrous to handle, especially over longer stints. You can see Reed sliding a bit to the outside. Isada just having a whiff of the inside, trying to get alongside, but that's when the corner ends. You have to straighten out again and accelerate. Getting close is one thing here. Getting past someone is a completely different animal.
In Hisada, too, and don't discount the fact that he's sitting there in third. Watch out. He may be a factor here, especially since he's in this lead group of 4. We're starting to see the packs really start to break up. There's Bill Tyler in this pack for 5th place with Tashima at the head of it. It's Tashima, Verbruggen, Tyler, and Clapper as Tyler is trying to stay down low and stave off an attack. Also, you've got Verbruggen go to the inside of Tashima going through 3 and 4. He goes and gets that 5th spot for now, but able to open up just a little bit of a gap as Tyler looks at the inside. Not going to make anything happen, but he's also got Clapper who's trying to get a nice little peek to the inside there. Too far away to make it happen into 1.
And trying to make a move. Oh, that is Virumaki. Out of turn 4, that must have been a spin. I wonder if there's maybe been contact there. As Jacob Reed down the inside into turn 3. Can Henry Morse hang around on the outside? Looking well so far. And there's... Whoa, he's going quite wide. So a lot of rotation still to be done. But side by side, still going into turn 1. And Jacob Reed, I think he's got this bagged up for now. But there comes McClaren also down the inside of Togo Isada, making a way for 3rd place. But Isada's now on the better acceleration path and might retain it, but it's not quite over yet.
Yeah, we see Morse go to the inside of Reed. Oh, look at this dancing 4th position. Got a battle for 1st, battle for 3rd. Yeah, this is fantastic. So Reed thinks better of it. Now Claridge sits there in 3rd place, and we're back to battling side by side. Reed has the advantage at the line. He's going to get the advantage through turn number 1. You're looking on board with Claridge, who also wants to play in this battle for the lead. Oh, look at the squeeze that Morse has put on Claridge coming out of turn number 2, as they're still looking for some sort of battle. Claire's going to try high, not going to make anything happen, but that gives Morse a chance to close in through 3 and 4. Watch for him to pop out coming out of turn number 4 to try and get that lead back at the line. It's going to be Reed with the advantage, but Morse still closing in, waiting for his moment of attack, but Claridge, he's chopping at the bit. He dives to that little opening, but not able to make anything happen.
Really, really interesting actually with Claridge. You can hear he's shifting up and shifting down again. We're seeing a lot of different gearing ratios around here, as well as Morse goes down the inside once more. Once again, swapping positions. Claridge actually grabs a tiny bit of grass on the inside to just try and get that little bit of extra straight line. Looks down the inside again, and my goodness, I think if we can keep this going for the next 50 or so laps, that's going to be, well, our throats are going to be running dry.
I think you're right, because look, Claridge is just knocking off basically each position one by one, and he's not doing it in a case where he's just boom, 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 boom. He's methodically going through and making this happen. You see him really trying to work on Reed, but still, Morse is really liking this because he's opened up probably the biggest lead we've had in about 0.3 of a second. Claridge goes a little high. He's going to slide. That's going to give Hisada a chance to come in, and he's going to get that 3rd place. What a fantastic move by Togo to see what is going on. We got 1 car slow.
Oh, that's the rear suspension completely destroyed. There's Zirovaki again, so bad luck keeps going to Finland for now. 21st place, number 15, not going very well at all. And Claridge, he went a little bit deep into turn 1 and immediately realized, oh, I have to throw in the anchor. Otherwise, I'm going to take both of us out. And now I'm there on the pit exit.
Yeah, that's an interesting approach because the pit exit is flat, and then you're going up into the slight banking. Granted, it's banking, but it's still slight.
Here we have a quick replay.
This is Virumaki, as it looks like probably just gets caught out in contact.
Oh.
That's contact that he had, and possibly David Beatty in the 24 also involved, as that right front on the 24 is completely shot, as he's going to drag it into the pit, so both of those drivers are into pit road. Helps out Bjorn Ackerman as he's going to go up to 22nd here in the next lap or so. But still, this battle for the lead heats up between Jacob Reed and Henry Morse. Reed about 1/10 of a a second. He's sniffing the oil off the back of Henry Maurice. That is how close he is as he makes his way off of turn number 4. Tries to look high, not going to make anything happen as Maurice is really closing in that inside line.
And we still have, well, the top 5 now nose to tail completely, and no one really has a spot to breathe. We're back actually to the original order that we had a couple of laps ago before they started shuffling about. And I think we're about to go back into the shuffling phase, because you can see again, we have this entire rhythm here for now where everyone just sort of slots in behind each other for a couple of laps, and then they realize, okay, I can try to make a move now, so let's try to make that move. And yeah, maybe we're gonna get our nice little, well, sort of box plot almost of 2x2 going into the corners as Jacob Reed goes for a move.
And Reed's going to go back to the lead, so Henry Maurice falls back into second place for the time being, but he's not going to let that position go by easily. That's going to give Asada a chance to close in, and Reed gets to the point. Here comes Maurice to the inside. Reed shuts the front door on him, but no, the foot is open for Maurice, and he could take the lead here off of turn number 2. And the point I was going to make here before all this dancing happened, remember we had that group of 4 and then the group of 5. Well, now that group of 5 is caught up to this lead pack because you have so much battling for the battle for first and the battle for second. As Maurice tries to get that lead back, high, wide, and handsome, not gonna do it as Reed gets the better advantage. Actually, Maurice does get it. Reed gonna come down low off of 1 and 2, but Maurice able to muscle around.
And Claridge down the inside of Isada once again, gets it sorted, gets it planted, and plants the throttle, gets ahead to 3rd place. And now Kevin Verbruggen is looking to attack as well, with Teshima right behind as well. It's, you know, with them always moving over and under, it's almost like watching a shirt in a washing machine. My goodness.
And of course, also now you're going to have lap traffic. Oh, a little bit of contact there at the back. I believe that's going to be Verbruggen and Teshima, who are all both involved in that little dance. But man, lots of great, this is almost thinking man's racing. Where am I going to pass you? How can I pass you? And hopefully you might make a mistake to where I can capitalize on that. As Verbruggen doing all he can to hold back Tyler and Clapper for that 6th position, as Teshima there holding everybody back. He's basically the cork in the bottle. Once he gets out of the way, it's going to be game on for those drivers to catch up.
Right behind that as well, you know, Jason, Clapper, Sicaro. Olsen is the first one that's actually a bit further behind, but essentially, you know, if they all bunch up a tiny bit again, that's a 9-way fight for the lead. All we need is one collision and it throws the entire order upside down.
Well, that might happen. Watch out as the leaders catch up to the lap traffic. You see them going into turn 1. The leaders now just crossing the start-finish line. It's still Reed, Maurice, and Claridge. 1, 2, 3. We got a spinner there. I think that's one of the lap cars.
That was a lap car, yeah.
Okay, so it was a lap car, and that's going to be Almendros out of Spain, the number 14, as runs darn near close to what a AJ Foyt paint scheme would be. But nonetheless, he's able to continue. As still your leaders, Campbell Wallace there in position for 16th, with Matt Linden holding him off there as the Scottish driver trying to catch up to the rest of the field.
Got quite close there. I think that was right before the leaders, or actually while the leaders were going past, that accident was happening. So very lucky nothing more happened. And once again, speaking of stuff happening, that's Henry Maurice down the inside. I think that's turn 3 and 4. And confidently gets on the throttle down the inside. And well, everyone behind that is sitting hungry once again. You know, Mick Claridge looking down the inside, taking a lot of inside apron. That still looks so alien to me, you know, taking so much apron, but you know, it's working obviously. So
the smoke at the back, yeah, right there. And I'm sitting here thinking, is Togo just saving his equipment? Look, we're 28, we're going to 29 laps in here in just a little bit. So one has to wonder if Togo's going to save his equipment, or if Maurice and Reed are just going to, you know, shift the lead one another and see what happens when they come up to this lap traffic. Reed takes a look to the inside once again, and it's interesting watching Mick as he, you know, goes high coming into 1, dives down again, touches that apron sometimes, but other times he stays right there between lanes 1 and 2.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is one of those things, you know, you're trying to catch a rhythm there, but it's that rhythm you can also shift around quite dynamically, because overall, because you have such, well, a flat surface still, you know, you're trying to stay around the inside, but you have these multiple lanes that you can work with. So if there's someone blocking you in the front, you know, you can try go high, try go low, you know, try to pretty much enter wide and then cut down pretty much, you know, while no one's on your inside, obviously.
Ooh.
So, yeah, oh my goodness, that's a late one around the outside. That's exactly what I mean, you know? There's so much you can just strategically go, and oh, that's a three-wheel car as well, going into the pit lane in the background.
Well, I've heard four-wheel cars are better than three-wheel cars to get more traction, but man, look at Clapper trying to go high, wide, and handsome. That's Bjorn Ackerman. I tell you what, if he didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck at all. That might be a race ender for the number 19. But look at this, Jacob Reed all over the back once again of Henry Maurice. You know, the point I was going to make is we're talking about, you know, finding your rhythm. We're about halfway through the race. You think that at this point you would find your rhythm as Reed decides to think better of it, and the lap car going high wide through the clag per se around 1 and 2. So going to let the leaders go by, but the leaders are actually going to try and draft off of them. This might work perfectly for Reed, as no, both cars, Morse and Reed, able to pass by the lap car through 3.
At the same time, on ovals, we don't have, you know, Grand Prix blue flag rules. You know, it's pretty much find your way around them. And as long as that lapped car doesn't impede them too much, there won't be too much done about it. But obviously, you know, everyone here is a good sport. So they don't want to impede each other and just have a good race with each other. As Reed down the inside again, Claridge looking at the inside, letting Morse know, hey, if you make a mistake, I'm here next. And it's really, really bloody close right now, isn't it?
Well, here's the thing. I've got to say this. I noticed coming off of turn 2 that the Milwaukee Brewers have a banner here at the Milwaukee Mile, and it's fitting because the first letter of the turn that they have here is L. That's all they turn here is left. So, you know, L, Milwaukee Brewers. Never mind. There's probably gonna be some upset. I'm probably gonna hear some whining from Southeast Wisconsin, but hey, you know what? Baseball gods are a thing. Reed gets the lead for just a little bit more. So they're neck and neck as you see the great battle from Claridge. Oh, a little bit of grass kicked up there off of turn number 4. But Reed and Morse still locked in battle. Here comes Claridge to the inside. He's going to take a look at Morse and try and get up one position. Talk about a ballsy move.
Look at how close he got to the end of the pit wall. And oh my God.
We got one on its lid. One slid, one slow. Not sure who the one who is upside down is, but still Claridge trying to hope that Morse and Reed let him into the party because he's an interested spectator on the outside looking in as both Morse and Reed are side by side once again down the front straightaway.
Yeah, just when we think, oh yeah, it's calming down for a little bit, they're trying to just save themselves for the end of the race. No, we're back on the attack. And I think the biggest difficulty, you know, going through this race, as we're about to have a replay of, hopefully, how we see that how the car ended up on the roof. That's Gary Quellen. It was a red car, though. Oh, that's the number 14. And oh my goodness, that is a launch.
Yeah, Quellen with the launch. Thank goodness the General Mitchell Airport all the way on the other side of town. As David Rossi. So Rossi's the driver who ends up on his lid. And did he get going?
I don't think he did.
I'm not sure. A timing screen showing. Okay, so Rossi's in the pits as we hear from Daniel Costello, our producer, that he did make it to the pits, but yeah, so that might be race over for both of those drivers. Where it's not race over, it's between Morse and Reed. This is race on between the two of them as they have been neck and neck the whole 38 laps we've running.
Really, really crazy how quickly it can just escalate, you know, and it makes you appreciate all the more, you know, these guys here have been fighting for 38 laps already. Going, well, on the grass, on the apron, going around lap cars, going around each other, 2 wide, and, you know, 2 wide, 2 behind. And they're somehow able to just keep it all together, somehow, and still pushing hard. Jacob Reed, once again, a bit early on the throttle, looking down the inside, but not quite, well, either wanting to make the move or able to make the move yet. But having that nose inside, constantly having, the inside rearview mirror of Maurice just filled to the brim with his car.
Yeah, if I'm Maurice, I'm not even looking at my mirrors at this point because all I'm seeing is Jacob Reed behind me, and Hesada, he's not done on Claridge either, as he is closing within the rear gearbox of the number 10. Hesada loses just a little bit there. 28 laps to go, so really, it's still anybody's race as the top four finally have broken away from Verbruggen on back.
And Claridge with a bit of a wiggle coming out of turn 2 just now. Losing a tiny bit of time, but now, once again, my God. So onto the straights, he's losing a tiny little bit. You know, you can see him sliding a bit there. But into the corners, he's gaining quite a bit of time, just going a little bit more aggressive there. And Hesada is now looking, maybe I go a bit more conservative into the corner. And now down the inside of turn 4, having the nose there, has the wheel there. Now as they get fully alongside, and I think that might be Hesada completing the move now into turn 1. But no, so. Claridge once again very deep, and now that's the move completed because it's too deep.
Claridge went a little high. I want to go back one lap to that shot coming off of turn 3. Normally I'm yelling, focus when I'm watching a broadcast, but man, I've got to say, seeing those Lotuses just a little out of focus, the sunlight glistening on them, fantastic. Now Hesada gives Claridge a chance to get back into third place because he's a little too high through 3 and 4. Claridge gets the advantage by just a little bit, but he's really going to get it going into turn number 1 as Hesada could not get that Lotus woed up enough to get into position to try and defend, but that's going to give Togo a chance to really close in now for that position. Dives in just a little bit earlier than Claridge, and he's going to get under that gearbox. Would not be surprised to see if he catches up to Claridge here on the straightaway and makes a dive into turn number 1.
Looking past here, Remorse and Jacob Reed going past another lapped car, and maybe it's over and under again. But Morse keeps it a bit tighter before Jacob Reed can get alongside, and now the lapped car is in front of 3rd and 4th place. So we're having a lot of shuffling about, and I think Claridge and Hesada starting to slow each other down a little bit, with the rest of the pack actually catching back up to them.
Yeah, Tashima and Verbruggen and Clapper catching up as well. So this battle really heating up. Of course, left down cars not helping things too much as Hesada gets around Claridge, uses that slower car as a little bit of a pick, as you're seeing Verbruggen now wants to play as well as Clapper. So now we've got a group of 2 and a group of 4 for the battle for the lead and the battle for 3rd all the way back to 6th.
And this is really to the point now. They're 1.5 seconds clear, Reed and Morse. So they can basically try and focus on their own battle as much as they want for now. And, Claridge is obviously trying to... I think, with the couple of laps where we saw him kick the rear end out, I think he really was struggling with tire heat there. So he had to just calm the car down a little bit again. And then, now try to collect himself again, try to catch back up. And maybe it's a good thing that Hesada, who was a little bit more tame out of the corners, he's now in front, so he can basically pull Claridge along, and they can try to catch back up to the top 2. And that's exactly what he's doing. Hesada with a 29.502, fastest lap of the race so far.
As I say, you say tame, and yeah, he drops that fastest lap, so now he is starting to rein in. This is Togo time, as now he sets his sights on Morse and Reed. With the battling that those two have been doing, I would say in the next couple of laps, we will see a 3-car battle for the lead with Hesada right there in play. Still have 20 laps to go. It is anybody's race. Really seeing wingless cars at the miles, absolutely fantastic. It really showcases the driver's talents. We're watching Tashima there in 9th place, falling back from running in the top 5, but still in a great battle. Got Sekiro ahead of him, lost Olsen behind him. So really doing quite well so far in this event.
Absolutely, and I think there's still, plenty of time to fight back. We still have just under a third of the race to go. But, you still have to see that you try to get some of the places back now, that you basically get some moves done now, so you can actually start to fight for, maybe top 5, top 3 places in the last couple of laps, but at the same time, not overstress your tires because you don't have banking helping you here.
And remember how I said last lap that Hisada is he's going to be within striking distance? He's already 0.6 of a second behind because Maurice and Reed side by side off of turn number 2. So once again, Togo closes in, knocks off another couple of tenths of a second as Reed is your leader so far. But again, that's unofficially, and I think he's going to get it because Maurice is going to let him by. But here comes Togo, 0.4 of a second off of the back of Maurice. He's within drafting distance.
And all over each other again, and Hisada now, well, that 1 second gap didn't last long at all, did it? Already down to 0.3 again, and oh, that's a spin in the back! That's Verbruggen!
Yeah, Verbruggen with a spin. That is one of our front runners with problems with 17 laps to go. Was it a touch or was it a simple case of losing it? We know that these guys are running on the edge as Hisada now still about 3 to 4 car lengths behind Maurice, but Maurice is looking to the outside of Reed. That's going to give Hisada a chance to close in. Now that 2-car battle for the lead quickly becomes a 3-car battle for the lead. I was only off by a couple of laps on how many times it would take Hisada to catch up to this battle for the lead. It took a lot quicker, and I really shouldn't be surprised. Here's a replay of that spin. As we see, it looks like it just goes a little high. Yep, just loses the back end. The back end wants to see what the front end's looking at. And Verbruggen misses 3, 4, 5 cars. Wow.
I think that was the number 12, Flaust Olsen, that also avoided him just barely there. So incredibly good reactions. I think that was the very definition of a Code Brown moment there. You're with the car just starting to spin out right ahead of you there. But yeah, once again, too wide for the lead. Reed and Maurice right next to each other, and Hisada looking right behind that, thinking, well, which one of these two am I going to take care of first then?
Yeah, that smell wasn't coming from the bovine exhibit behind the grandstands as Maurice and Reed still locked in battle, and Hisada, he's just trying to think, okay, when do I go and where do I go? He's going to try and poke a nose to the inside of Reed through turn number 4. He's going to catch up to, he's going to draft off of Maurice, and he does indeed. Now it's only a matter of time for Hisada to challenge for the lead, but Reed is not going to let him have it that easily. This is a fantastic battle for position as Reed goes high, wide, and handsome, but Hisada seems to be just a little bit better off of turn number 2.
Oh, and it's looking so close once again. It's absolutely insane how these guys are pushing here right now, and you can just tell, you know, the tires are slowly starting to go. They're trying to watch themselves and each other a little bit more, you know, when is someone going to start making mistakes. Claridge is dropping off a little bit, so I think he was just a little bit too aggressive in the middle of the race there, with the rear tires probably letting go a little bit, so he's probably playing it safe right now. But these guys here, they're still pushing on the limit, they're still trying to get the top spot of the podium. Nothing else matters to them right now.
Well, that's one thing that I mentioned. It's like, you know, you saw in the beginning stanza of the race, Hisada falling back to about 1 to 2 seconds behind this battle for the lead early on. It's like, okay, you know, he's probably saving those rears for later on. 11 laps to go, and he's on full attack mode right now, trying to figure out a way around Reed. Of course, then you've got slower traffic ahead of them, but regardless, 11 laps, anything still can happen. Mick Claridge trying to battle for 4th between he and Jason Clapper. Clapper's going to go around the outside, but Claridge gets the better exit off of turn number 4. So while, yes, the tires have fallen off for the battle for the lead, they really haven't for this battle for 4th place.
I think that's literally just taking everything else that he has left on those tires and pretty much putting that on the road right now. And once again, over and under and over and under. Clapper's looking down the inside for turn 3 now. Can he make it stick? No, brakes a bit earlier. And Claridge once again late on the brakes. Goes a bit deeper. And now the question is, can he hang around the outside? I don't think so for now. But, oh, look at that. Like fishtailing almost out of the corner there. And Claridge drops down to 5th place for now. But Clapper now also deep. So, my goodness, these guys are just constantly, you know, making me question. You know, I'm just done with a sentence and then, okay, next move. Oh, they're going a bit deep. Oh, maybe this is a move. It's absolute insanity.
And that's what I love about these wingless cars, and hopefully J.R. Hildebrand's project, the Blackbird, really comes into play, because there's just something special about a race car that just dances perfectly around the corner, where you think you're going to lose control, but no, you're able to get it back on the gas and point it forward. Look at how close Asada has gotten once again. Maurice, Reed, Asada, 8 laps to go. As Reed looks to the outside, sees the slow car, thinks better of it. I believe that's Matt Linden who is falling back into 18th spot, but nonetheless, he gets out of the way, lets the leaders go by. 7 laps to go. This is tense. There's still lots of racing left to go. You've got about 14, 13 corners now left to decide today's winner.
Yeah, we're running out of corners to make moves now, but these guys still looking close. I mean, we can almost see, where Togo Isada is looking from this camera. Just past Jacob Reed and basically follow their eye tracking there. So it's really, really crazy after 60 laps now that they're still this close together, and these slightly altering lines, slightly basically looking, okay, I'm going to enter a tiny bit wider there, but leave only half a car width, so they can't go alongside on the inside, so I can still keep focusing on my current line. And once again, how close they get, this harmonica effect.
Well, and you know how good how a driver is. Drivers race anything. You've got some fans who say, oh, oval racing. It's, no, oh, crash! Reed, Maurice is in the wall. Reed tapped Maurice, and that is game over for our race leader. Now that 3-car battle is a 2-car battle. I thought we'd see something like that later on in the race, but Maurice is out of the race. Reed is your leader, as Asada now within distance of getting to the point. We'll see a replay of that here momentarily, but what an interesting move. Was it Reed who just was tapped, or did we see a little bit of an incident there where a let-off early?
That's heartbreak. You can't say it any other way. That's absolute heartbreak there. Isada now on the inside, trying to make the move stick with 4 to go into turn 3, gets it done properly, but my goodness, that is just the one end that you wouldn't want for Henry Morse after that drive. That was absolutely spectacular so far, and yeah, I think we just didn't expect him to, slow down for the corner so early. But as we said, the tires are wearing off. You have to try and be on the brakes a bit earlier so you don't overstress the tires. Mm-hmm. And once again, Isada gets a really bad run out of turn 2, actually.
That's weird. That's a rare miss by Asada, as he had the point for just a little bit. Morris is in the pits, but yeah, what could have been. I'm not saying we're deprived of a great finish, because we still have 2 laps to go with Asada breathing down the neck of Reed. He's going to go around down the inside. He's going to take that position for the time being, but a lap car could come into play.
And it is coming into play. Oh my goodness. Getting quite close. Asada leaving the space for Jacob Reed to stay alongside, get out of the way so he isn't trapped behind Hashimoto. But Asada goes to the lead. Reed looking again for the inside once again into turn 1 now, and let's see. But Asada, this is the one thing about Togo Asada, he's always this guy who can just keep the car alongside so nicely, and just basically keep the car so calm and calculated. He looks so calm while he's driving. Last lap, and he basically get it alongside again though with an over and under, and I think that's running out of space maybe.
No,
but here comes the run. No!
Oh, that's another touch. So Reed will win the race after he touches Asada. Oh, that's going to be a heartbreaker there as well, as Togo Asada finishes second against the wall, but Jacob Reed is your winner. That was some sort of finish there, as Reed moved Henry Morse out of the way and taps Asada down there to try and defend wheel against wheel. And unfortunately, that's the way the cookie crumbles with racing.
Yeah, absolute heartbreak at the end of the race there. And, well, Asada still keeping second place, but what a way to slide across the finish line there. And I think that was just a couple... Yeah, there was a couple thousands, I think 7,000 of a second or something, that he actually stayed in front of Jason Clapper there. Yeah, 7,000 of a second to keep second.
Yeah, that's actually that's really good, especially when you're hit by another competitor. But nonetheless, Jacob Reed, Togo Hisada, Jason Clapper rounding out your podium. That's Mick Claridge, Bill Tyler, Leo Sakero, and Laust Olsen 7th. Shunsuke Tishima sits 8th, 9th. Kurt Clapper, Kevin Verbrugge, Nicholas. I got to take a breather after this because he finishes 10th.
Yeah, with the spin late on in the race. Yoshiharu Hashimoto in 11th place. First driver, I think, with a lap down. Robert Plumley in 12th. Ray Oliver in 13th. Then Andres Bruno, the first driver, 2 laps down, but still finishing. Campbell Wallace in 15th. And I think Henry Morse actually did carry on to the end of the race, if I saw it correctly. But it might also have been that he pulled into the pit lane and still got counted as 4 laps down. Henry Virumaki and Mats Linden next, and David Rossi, obviously involved in that crash in turn 2 where we had the flip, and Björn Ackermann, 23 laps down in 20th place.
And look at our timing. Henry Moore still in the game with a meatball flag. Out of the race also, David Alejandros, Gary Quellen, David Beatty, and John Olson. That was some sort of finish. It was a great race, but nonetheless, interesting finish to say the least. We thought that Togo would have a run, but I think that entering the turn 3, that last lap, that right there was his downfall. Jacob Reed, though, able to stave off all challengers and take the overall win.
Absolutely. And I mean, in the end, that is the point where we have this slight slip up in the closing laps, and you never know who it's going to take out, how it's going to affect people. And I think, especially after over 60 laps with those minuscule margins between the cars, it's so easy to just do a tiny misjudgment. And especially with open wheel cars, you have a slight contact wheel to wheel, or even the front to the back. These cars are insanely light. They carry a lot of momentum into corners, nevertheless. And having contact there, it's very easily a death sentence.
Well, and the thing too is, you're running 67 laps on the edge with basically your only help are your tires, and especially near the end, we saw those tires fall off. Mick Claridge was the first one to have that, but still, he was able to stay into 4th with those rears going off, holding off Bill Tyler, Leo Sakero, and especially Laust Olsen, who, by the way, made his way up to 7th there at the end.
Yeah, really, really impressive drive from him. And, that's one of those things, he was in the midfield for quite a while in the race, but then pretty much started getting settled in, kept it safe, kept it clean, and in the end, that's how you survive these races, metaphorically and very literally.
Big climber of the race was Jason Clapper from up to 7th. Started off 10th, finished 3rd. So a great run for Clapper. He could have really challenged here at the end if Reed and Hisada would have gone toe-to-toe a little bit more, as we do have one of our finishers. It's Togo Hisada finishing off in 2nd place. Well, Togo, I've got to say this. We had a feeling you were saving your equipment for the end. You did, but it didn't end the way you wanted. However, 2nd place is still good.
Yeah, still good. I did a little bit, I break it too late on the, turn 3 at the last lap, and then, yeah, my only way is just, cross the line, change the inside, and I accelerate as hard as possible, and I did up with the spin. But I think I did everything I could at the moment, so that still satisfying.
And still, nonetheless, it was great to see the way that you fell back and went forward. Were you worrying more about the rears, or what were you trying to save there at the end?
Yeah, in the Lotus 49's tire, it's very sensitive with the tire surface temperature. So I just trying to not not wheel spin it, not slide, and then just I did patient, and some of the guys in front is battling so much hard through the entire race. So I thought that it's better to sit back and watch the race goes on.
Yeah, with these cars, that's important. All right, before we let you go, we got to talk about that incident there off the last turn. What did you see, and what are your thoughts?
Yeah, but yeah, yeah, as I said, my mistake is braking for turn 3 at the last lap. I brake it a little bit too late, and the car goes way wide than I expected to do. So that it's almost losing at that moment. So my only fight back option is to get inside with him of him and just accelerate as hard as I can. So yeah, it not worked at the end, but yeah, I'm really satisfied with that move.
Nonetheless, a great race from you, second place. Great to take away from it. Congratulations on it, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Well, that was our second place finisher. And Nicholas, I believe we have our third place finisher as well, who really, not our third place, our fourth place finisher, who had a fantastic race.
Yeah, Mick Claridge up in the thick of it for, well, quite literally the entire race until the positions shifted a little bit. Mick, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, hope you're well.
Yeah, I hope you're well as well. And, well, talk us through it. Pretty much fighting for the lead the entire time. And then I think you got it getting a little bit squirrely, the tires a little bit letting off. And after that, was it mainly damage limitation or?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it wasn't a little bit going. They were a lot going. It felt like I was running on the rims. Halfway through the race. So yeah, so Togo was diving down into the turn 3. I think it was turn 3 and 4. He was diving down into the apex a lot nicer than me. And then I couldn't get on the power. I was all right. I was doing well for the first sort of 10, 20 laps. I was taking that crazy line into turn 1, because why not? And yeah, and then then the tyres died, and then I had I think it was one of the clappers on me. So yeah, so I had a good fight there, and then I think Bill was getting involved as well. And then I don't know. I think it was Togo I hit on the finishing line, but I've never finished a race like that before.
I mean, it was definitely very spectacular. Overall, what was your main priority, and your main strategy in the end, going into the race, essentially?
Well, I thought I had no idea that the car was going to die on me like that, so I was like the man, like in all the practice sessions, I was like, yeah, this is happening, this is on it, we're there. And then it sort of unraveled, about 20 laps in, where I lost the back wheels. But yeah, I didn't have any strategy, just not kill anyone, basically.
Yeah, absolutely understandable. I mean, really, really crazy in the end. We had two cars right behind each other, so you were basically a box, essentially.
Yeah, I couldn't do anything. Jacob and Henry were side by side a lot of the time, and there's just nowhere to go. You can't try and make a move 3 wide. You haven't got the run anyway, And yeah, I mean, I'm not in the championship this season, so the last thing I want to do is hit anyone. So yeah, not that I was taking it easy. I wasn't, for the first 20 laps, I was going for it, And then yeah, the car died a bit. Bless it.
But I mean, either way, fantastic drive today. Really well done, and well, good damage limitation as well, evidently. So yeah.
Cheers, mate. Yeah. Yeah, can I just say hello to one guy before I go? Just want to give a shout out to Nick Cocchi, my mate Nick Cocchi. Yeah, hope to see you on track soon, mate.
Right, splendid. Always wonderful to have the positive sentiments here with, it is a quite tightly knit community. And yeah, seeing everyone always, wishing well to each other as well.
No, it really is, and that's the thing. At the end of the day, we're all friends. We're all doing the same thing, and we just love racing in and of itself. So, racing is a very tight knit community, whether it's real or simulated. Well, I've got to say, Nicholas, this is absolutely fantastic to be back in the chair here at GSRC, and can't wait to do more in the off season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's always wonderful to see. Sim racing is the wonderful part. We don't have to wait for winter to end to keep racing here. No matter whether it's raining, snowing, or sunny outside, we can race in the simulator. Well, if it's sunny outside, bring the simulator outside and, enjoy the weather and the racing. So, yeah, and speaking of enjoying racing, next up, Zandvoort.
Yeah, next week, Zandvoort at 13:30 UTC, 9:30 Eastern Daylight Time. And that's the last daylight time race here for the United States as Zandvoort Grand Prix takes place next Saturday. So plenty of racing also to come on GSRC. You've got the Sim Racing Republic coming up from Barcelona. Absolutely fantastic. And still later on this weekend have IMSA, Major Series, and Classic Lotus GP. So lots of racing to get your fix, and I can't wait for Masters at Bathurst. So on behalf of Daniel Costello, Ducky Beard, as well as my partner Nicholas Hillebrand, I'm Jeremy Scott. Remember, be kind always. You never know when somebody needs it. Take care, everybody, and be safe.
This is iRacing.